button on the top.
Oh, hey, there's a button. That's why. Aha!
Yeah.
Got it.
That's it.
Gotta be smarter than the average microphone. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Abby Peterson. I'm the president of the Bullpen, and I am emceeing today. We're so excited to have you. Helicon West is an uncensored public reading series. We host published authors and community writers to showcase all levels of skill and craft. We welcome open mic readers. We welcome donations to keep Helicon West going. You'll find a sign-up sheet for open mic and bookmarks for the QR code link and the donations at the coffee bar in the back corner. Please help yourself to some Cafe Ibis decaf while you're signing up for donating, and be sure to use a lid so we don't spill anything. Helicon West humbly acknowledges that we are here on the territory of the northwestern band of the Shoshone Nation. We are grateful for our sponsors and partners, Sugar House Review, the Logan Library, the USU English Department, Cafe Ibis, and many community of volunteers. For information, interviews, and more, visit heliconwest.wordpress.com. And then we just want to keep the doors closed during the event. Before we start, Michael Stowers, is he here? Yep. Yes, he's going to talk for a second.
Well, hello everyone. I'm just kind of taking a point of privilege to hijack your meeting for about 5 minutes. I am your new library director. Today is capping off my 4th day on the job, and so I just wanted to stop in and say hello and welcome you, and I'm so glad you're using this wonderful building and facility for your thing. Published author myself, mostly nonfiction, mostly technology related, and all very out of date. So, if you need a book on how to use Outlook 2000, let me know. I've got a few copies for you. So anyways, I literally just wanted to say hello to you all, and thank you for being here. And if you've got any questions for me, I won't be staying for the whole event, but you know where to find me. I have an office in the building. So, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, so we're going to get started with the bullpen reading. Our first reader is Eli Moss. Eli is set to graduate from USU this December with degrees in biology and English creative writing. When Eli isn't lost within the fantastical world of a current read, you're likely to find him with a tabletop role-playing game in hand or catching a breath of fresh air in the mountains. While he generally considers himself more of a prose writer than a poet, tonight Eli is delighting us with a new poem titled "This Poem is Meant to Burn."
All right.
This poem is meant to burn. At first, the words flow freely, a steady drip, drip, drop, then dry. I work this poem like taffy, stretching, pulling, or like clay. My pliable material, words on a page. The kiln of creativity hardens this poem into shape. And it's a success, I've done it, but the kilns don't cease. Gripping this poem in my hands, the page becomes a toy car. It's 8th grade, shop class, Pinewood Derbies. The work is slow, which is to say that I work slow, for my sanding must be methodical, meticulous. I need to reveal a perfect car, to race neck to neck with the other boys, one that gives a fine showing in front of the others. She takes her pinewood form, thin in the middle, thicker at the nose, but heaviest in the back. Sanding down the waist, I transform my car into the envy of every Victorian to ever don a corset. The sandpaper glides. Scritch, scritch, scratch, then snap. My beauty splinters. I had worked the shop piece too hard, seeing only imperfection. Fine enough would have been fine enough. It would have been great. And through the tears, I want to burn it all to the ground. Better it be ash. Holding the two halves in my small, soft hands, I see now. The destiny always has been to burn. That Pinewood Derby, this poem, and every project between. Maybe the problem is me. I'm a bonfire, and what I touch burns. I can adopt no project for long. Craft the initial frame, carve out a detail here or there, but then the fireproofing fails, and my poetry burns. This poem, here and now, burns. Take it, you, yes you, take it and flee. This poem burns, but perhaps you can douse the flames. I stand too close to the thing and cannot fend off the temptation of another caress. It's too flammable. Take this poem and save it from the fire, or at least bury the ashes.
Abby Huber is a sophomore at USU, currently pursuing a degree in technical communications. Her favorite thing to do is laugh, but she also enjoys writing poetry and reading anything fantasy. She's excited to share some of her poems with you tonight.
All right.
Hi everyone, I brought 2 poems to share tonight. The first one is called The Song of Humming Bees. The soft humming that surrounds me is like my mother singing lullabies in a foreign language, whispering how she loves me in words only she can translate. The bees that fly yellow and black, leg pouches bursting with pollen, fly black and yellow, like the black-eyed Susans deep in the Maryland hills. Like the arrow signs I glimpse through a foggy car window, a guardrail curving around some river or hill that never ends. Like construction vehicles streaking past on the highway with their neon orange workers hovering around them, in them, driving the big rumbling machines, sounding distantly like the rhythmic droning of my hard-working honey lovers, who dance in their furry coats of black and yellow to find the sweet black-eyed Susans dotting the grass. This one is called My Hidden Panic. The salty fog slips by the car window, transforming palm trees into distorted figures looming over the highway, turning into formless monsters from my childhood nightmares. The boy next to me drives with one hand on the steering wheel, eyes lighting up when he talks, easy smile sending spinning pinwheels up my spine. He doesn't seem concerned when the fog spills over the road, when it presses against the windows with cold, gray hands. He keeps on talking as the fog seeps through the misting glass, snaking its long fingers around my face. I slowly suffocate on the salty air, drowning, as the boy takes my hand and smiles.
Okay, our next reader is Samantha McCartney. Samantha McCartney is an English secondary education major who will be student teaching in the fall. She has 3 dogs and a love for rainbow bird wallpaper. She's reading slam poetry tonight, and it's emphasis on the slam.
All right.
I have my laptop because I'm unprepared. Why do you care so much? You can't let it get you down. It doesn't matter that much. It was a personal decision. Chill out. It isn't worth getting angry about. It isn't worth losing relationships over. The economy is the most important issue to me. This is just how it goes. You lost. Get over it. I'm sure everything will be fine. It was last time, right? Make yourself get out of bed. Make yourself get dressed. Eat some $8 eggs. Whatever you do, don't think about the world being on fire. Everyone in the media is a liar. Make yourself okay enough to leave the house. Go to class. Go to a coffee shop. Make yourself write that paper. Do your math homework. Make yourself forget about the world being on fire. Drain the swamp and light the pyre. Make yourself okay when you hear the news. The never-ending news. Old news and old stories put only half in the past, still here just quieter, a less opaque sheen of blood to read through. Don't you know there's nothing you can do? Make yourself okay when you hear the noose tighten again. Just a little more. Listen to nonsense about how these things just happen. New names for an old crime, same place in a different time, same old glory, gore. We can't talk about politics anymore. Step 1 is always to make up a story. I wonder if their outlines look like mine. They know the story doesn't have to be true. They'll sell it wrapped in red, white, and blue. They'll hook you in no time. I'm sure everything will be fine. agenda, to buy or to die, with buy being the preferred option. There's no more crime in buying human life. As long as you incorporate, we'll make them participate. He's gonna make America great. I recommend at least 2 degrees of removal when you make them buy the lie. My sister's suitor, my father's friend, my mother's mother, truth finds, 3rd degree ends. But we're still friends. Make it about religion. A moral crusade. Invaders are just people with skin a darker shade. Better yet, make it about economics. We'll call it trickle-down histrionics. America's priority, production. Propagating paranoia, prescribing propaganda, and paying politicians to stoke the pyre of war and promise its peace. Outlaw literacy, revise liberty. They'll never read it coming. Sedate and saturate schooling with prejudgments, persecute the press, and pronounce every action just in pride. The children are in danger. Run, hide, not from guns or bombs or a world on fire, from the words of the opposite side. There are things you just have to take in stride. The sin of empathy instead of do unto others as you do unto me. No send these the homeless tempest tossed to me. Just close your eyes and you won't be angry. No blindfolded accountability. A new Colossus says put down your lamps for the new golden doors and 21st century concentration camps. Hail the cannibal consumers and capitalist commandments to leave the poor, the orphans, the widows, the refugees shot down just offshore. I don't know how to care anymore. How did kindness become something we abhor? When did humanity get banished from the dictionary? When did compassion become incendiary? Thank you.
I'm going to read next. Abby Peterson is going into her last year at USU in the English and Equine programs. She's loved her time as the president of the Bullpen, and she's beyond thrilled to start her editing and publishing career with Eschler Editing. When she's not reading and writing, you can find Abby at the barn working with her latest project force. The inspiration from tonight's poem came from D-Day and historical perspectives of mental health. June 6th, a Tuesday. Battle fatigue, born in dusty brown and camo, kicking, screaming, silent. My sweaty palms leave marks on the straps of my pack. Your great-grandfather rises over the ridge, caught in the space between look and run. Jeeps and tanks on the beaches of my bus stop, inflatable or not, makes no difference. Feel the moon sink below the mountain, watching, a waning crescent over both of us. He buckles his helmet in Calais. My fingers fumble the edge of a debit card in the checkout line. Thank you. John is going to read next. John is an accomplished writer of a single poem every year, a love poem to his wife every Valentine's Day. This year was poem number 32, and no, he hasn't published any of them yet. And yes, he plans to publish all of them eventually, maybe posthumously. Sadly, one of the poems have been lost. John is currently taking submissions for replacing the lost poem. John and his wife, Donette, 29-year transplants in Cache Valley, are the parents of 6 children, 3 daughters-in-law, and 5 grandchildren.
All right.
I feel like a little bit of an imposter, right? I mean, you could mistake me for a 25-year-old undergrad, right? Can we pull that off? So as Emma invited me to read tonight, I thought I'd share some of these love poems. I hope. I mean, you won't get it all, right? Because you're not in it, right? And yet, I hope you get it all, because we're all in it, right? I grabbed a few of them. Let me start with this one. And I thought all the years, oh here, this one is a 2017. This is 2017. titled A Fraction of an Ounce. If I love you on Valentine's, they say I should give you a dozen roses. Deep red and fragrant, long stems, dethorned, a symbol of my love. But what do I do if my love for you is bigger than that? 2 dozen roses or 3? How many dozen is enough to track my love for you in flowers? And what, when they wither, dry up, and crumble to dust, do I do then? Maybe I should give you an entire rose bush, something to plant in the yard where you can see it from the window, where you'll walk past it every day so you can enjoy an inexhaustible supply of roses, a boundless reminder of my love. Except that honestly, a bush the size of a rose bush is not nearly enough. I need something bigger, a whole tree, perhaps, a tree of flowers, a magnolia maybe, imported north from Mississippi and planted right in our front yard, where everyone who drives down 2nd South can see it and know the size of my love. But even that wouldn't be enough. Perhaps I'd need a full-grown redwood, plucked from Montgomery woods to show my love, shooting straight up over 300 feet into the air, 3 times the height of our elms, and more than 7 times as round, tipping the scale at more than 1,000 elephants. Maybe that would send the right message about the weight of my love. But the truth of it is that I need the whole of Montgomery woods, all 1,323 acres of it. No, every redwood in California, just to begin to say what you mean to me. To be truthful, what I really need is every tree on the entire continent, and add that to every tree from every species around the globe: maple, oak, spruce, beech, cypress, fir, willow, cedar, banyan, juniper, and hundreds more. Only then will I be able to convey the first stirrings of how I felt on that day when we met on the way to Kiwanis Park, how I felt when you taught me cartwheels on the lawn, how I felt when you gave me your address and said you'd write. Some might suggest that when my love for you first sprouted, that for 19 years, 5 months, and 3 days of my life before we met, I couldn't have loved you yet. It's true that I might not have known your name then, not known your face then, but still I knew you, still I loved you. I knew because every girl I encountered, every crush I had, every woman I dated, they only reminded me of you. The absence of you told me you were out there, somewhere, and in time I would find you and recognize you by the love I felt. They all reminded me that the absence of a thing is sometimes the greatest witness of a thing. Today on Valentine's, I don't give you the trees of the whole earth, or Montgomery woods, or a redwood, or Mississippi magnolia. I don't give you a rose bush, a dozen roses, or even one. I give you none of that. Instead, I give you this poem, printed on a single piece of paper, made from a fraction of an ounce of a tree, and hope this will tell you everything of the full weight of my love for you. You guys are good. I'll just keep reading if you just want to keep applauding. I like that. Here's one called Knowing You. And this one, somehow I don't have the year on this. You know what year this was? My wife was with us tonight, of course. My wife, Donna. This began completely unintentionally and completely inadvertently when the first year we were married, I was an undergrad at BYU studying literature and reading lots of great poetry. And so when Valentine's Day came along, I felt inspired to write a poem. And I wrote a poem, and it was not an amazing poem. I was a poor poet then and now. But I wrote her a poem, and I gave it to her with all the trust that you hope when you give something like that to somebody. And she read it, and then the tears started coming. I'm like, wow, that's good. That worked, right? Okay, that's a win, right? And then she said, the next thing she said was, I just love my poem, she said. And then the next thing she says was, I can't wait to get my poem next year. Right? Okay, now you see what happened, right? And so we're now 32 poems in. I don't know at what point's the right point to try to publish the volume, right? So it may never happen until after I'm gone, and then someone will publish it posthumously for me. Here's a poem. It's called Knowing You. Do you remember what year this one is? I don't remember either. Each morning, when the alarm drags me from sleep, I lie there in the dark, in the quiet, waiting, holding my breath, knowing that in a moment my dream memories will evaporate and the business of the coming day will take hold and begin to spin up like the drum of a washing machine, slowly at first, then picking up momentum, sloshing things about until I'm dislodged from under the covers to face a world whose pace has only built since yesterday. Students, co-workers, politicians, drivers, teenagers, ward members, advertisers, everyone all clamoring for something. Can I possibly ever find a place, I wonder, where things might just slow down a little, just a little? A place of relief from the speeding and spinning and whirling of a world that washes up in wave after wave like useless driftwood. I heard recently that if something like a car were to speed up infinitely, that it would disappear from sight. But I don't know if I could endure the entire buildup of it, a world with everything moving at hyperspeed in the moments before relief. How about a world instead where the cares and the spinning slow, where the tumbling eases and a peace settles softly as a morning dew without fanfare, so still, so silent. Maybe it will be like the moment at the end of the day when we are back together and the spinning slacks into a steady groove I know so well. A world where you can't change out of scrubs into pajamas fast enough, where you crank the volume when Lionel Richie plays on the radio, where the only ice cream you order is chocolate, where you want to hold hands walking into Home Depot, where you can never get enough chips and salsa and fresh guac, where you delight in all things tiny and all things baby, where you can't stroll enough beaches or collect enough seashells. This, knowing you, is peace, is love. Thank you. Okay, let's try one last one. Now, I'm reading tonight because, we didn't say this, did we? Abby, we didn't say, I am the faculty advisor for the bullpen, and so that's why I'm reading tonight, not just because I decided to jump in and horn on these guys. But can we recognize what these amazing young writers are doing? Don't you just love the voice of these young writers? They're amazing. I get wowed by them all the time. We typically, in the past, I've been the advisor, I don't know how many years it's been, I've lost track of how many years it's been, but typically we meet for an hour a week and just kind of huddle and talk all things writing. Hey, good to see you.
See you too.
All right, and, but this year, they're so dialed in that they schedule 2 hours every week to meet. And I can't, I don't have the wherewithal to hold on with these guys. They just keep going and going. I'm just so amazed by their love for the word, and they just impress me all the time. So here is a poem. Is this one I want to read? I think so. We'll try this one. This one's from 2018. The things I was not thinking about. This will be my final. I have to confess, on that day, on that beach of shells and colored sea glass, where the salty ocean breezes gusted in, where I sat next to you and felt the moment approaching when I would ask the question I've been wanting to ask, would wait for an answer while the waves thundered. I have to confess that in the moment, there are things I was not thinking about. I was not thinking about what it would be like to get our first place together, that basement apartment where we slept in sleeping bags on the living room floor for a week until my classmates sold us their used mattress, where we ate dinner on borrowed patio furniture and stacked the still-boxed wedding crystal in the pantry under the stairs, and the apartment where one day I sat at the makeshift desk made of milk crates and planks, and you stood in the doorway, and we looked at each other, and somehow we knew it was time to start a family. I was not thinking about how that decision meant our son would meet Grandma Donna before she died. The video of her delight watching him play with his red truck, her squeezing him tight in the last weeks of her life. Nor was I thinking about the trips to Vernal where our boy would cross the road with Hetty to feed the horses through the fence, or about the trip to the Bart's farm and that one picture of 4 generations, or how he was never happier than when he rode with Grandma McKell in the baby blue Plymouth Voyager to throw the Daily Journal. I was not thinking about how the paper boy would have brothers and sisters to fill a house, such a houseful, and then just how quickly the house would start to empty, how the paper boy would marry the love of his life and begin a new life with her, a life of their own. And of all the things I was not thinking about on that beach among sand dunes and tide pools, I was not thinking at all about the day when that paper boy turned man and his wife would bring a child into this world, a grandchild. But isn't that the point of it all? Of love, of March afternoons on a California beach, of unexpected decisions in a basement apartment to fill the world with love? I admit I was caught unawares how that love we had added to the world would ricochet back, what it would feel like to sit at the intersection of generations, those gone before, those to come, bookended by love. I had no concept of how that day on the beach held the seeds of generations that would fill not only a house, but 1,000 houses, 1,000,000 houses and worlds, 1,000,000,000 worlds with love, all sprouting from a cut stone, pulled from among sea glass of a beach on a spring day when I was not thinking about any of it. There is yet more to come. I can see now more love. There will be days when we will watch our grandson climb trees and ride a bike or scramble up to the kitchen counter at Grandma's house for another cookie, or cuddle with her on the couch while she reads him Brown Bear or Harry Potter, follow him with a toy lawnmower, or Harry Potter, or while Grandpa mows the lawn, follow him with a toy lawnmower, or listen to stories of Hetty and Grandma Donna and the ancestors, so that when he grows up, he will know the love he comes from, so that when he holds his children and his generations, he will be able to tell him about Grandma and Grandpa and how much we love him. I probably should have seen our future blowing in the ocean breezes, but I was definitely not thinking about any of that on that day, on that beach. No matter, the generations are now rolling on like thundering waves washing up at our feet, while we get to sit together and watch our love fill the world. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to open to the open mic section. Each reader will have up to 7 minutes, and if you go past that limit, you're going to be politely clapped off. If you don't want to be recorded for the YouTube archive, please tell us before you read. Is that you the person to talk to? Okay, right there. Okay, awesome. Go for it. Oh, do I have the list somewhere?
It's by the coffee.
Yes.
That's not the list.
I need my name added. See?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Who wanted to add their name to the list?
Write down Bill.
Yeah, just write down Bill.
Bill, at Bill's number 10.
So we're going to have Yash Rivera, Pam, and then Jan.
writing groups hosted by Sean. And this is actually the first writing group of his that I attended. And the prompt was to think about like what we would do if we could visit our past selves. I came back to knock on your door, call you by a name you'd recognize. You didn't answer. You were huddled up between gold silk sheets and a scratchy blanket, ears covered by the hunch of your shoulders, breath held because you tried to hide yourself under those blankets. You couldn't sleep. You'd spend hours staring through that window, past the weeping willow that loomed over it, and into the stars. You didn't like what it took to put you to sleep. Funny how nightmares can be soothing, how trauma has become your lullaby. If you'd open the door, I'd come sit by your bedside. It's okay, little Julie. It's just me. Who else but ghosts comes to visit this time of night? That's all that's visited for a while now. I'd run my hands through the soft red strands on your head and tuck the blankets in for you. And when you still couldn't sleep, I'd ask you, sweet child, how was school? Mrs. Brubaker told me you won't play with the other kids. You'd have nothing to say, maybe just that it was good. Did you draw anything new today? We'd flip through that sketchbook of yours, your misshaped fairies and disproportionate goblins and your fictional monsters. You'd tell me a story you're working on, always horror. What else is a kid supposed to write? Romance? You hate romance. And there was just something so homey about murders and ghosts and monsters. You'd skip the parts you deem were too gory or too gross for me because you didn't think I'd be able to handle them. Or maybe because something told you you weren't supposed to think about those things. And telling anyone would mean that you did think about those things. And you would fall asleep to those stories you knew you weren't allowed to draw or tell, at least to anyone who wasn't a ghost. I want to ask you, how was school today? I heard what you told your classmates today. Do you want to talk about it? You just shake your head, tell me you were joking. It was just a joke. But I know you're thinking there's something wrong with you. I know you're thinking you're disgusting. I know you feel so alienated, and you want to tell me. I'd like to think you'd whisper it to me in Dutch, so that if mom or dad are listening, they won't understand. Just think you're out playing or talking in your sleep. I don't ask you, though, because you're 7, and you don't need to fall asleep thinking about it tonight. Thank you.
I wrote this story right before I retired 9 years ago, and it's titled Nothing, Anything, Everything, and Something. When I'm asked about what I'll do when I retire from the post office, my first thought is defensive. Nothing. Lay in bed, read all day, watch movies, daydream, you get the idea. But when I take a minute to ponder the question, I realize that retirement is a new chapter in my life, and I'm able to do absolutely anything I want. Go skydiving, play the guitar, fly to Italy. Brand ideas take control, and I wonder, can I do it all? Everything on my bucket list and then some? Except every lunch date and coffee date? Go on every hike? Every book club, every action-packed trip. Surely I can't fit it all in, even if I am retired. So that leaves me to think a little harder. I try and come up with something interesting, something fun, something fulfilling, and new and exciting. That's exactly what I'll do. A little something each day or each week that brings me happiness and a full life. Something special, just for me. I'll probably have to try several things out first to see if they're fun or thrilling or too crazy. There will be lots of time to visit new museums in different cities, to learn a new craft or taste a new dish at a new restaurant or hometown fair. The desire to wake up early to see the sunrise will only win out on the days when I haven't stayed out too late the night before dancing. Retirement is kind of scary when you listen to everyone else's woes. I hope to give myself permission, to give myself some time and space to bounce around in as I muddle my way through the transition. Permission to say yes, permission to say no, or even maybe. Permission to live these next years as I want to live them. I feel very secure financially, and I'm in good health and young enough to be able to be active, and I want to be active. In fact, I feel secure in most aspects of my retirement. No one knows beforehand how they'll handle the years of retirement and the transition, but we all do it in our own individual ways. There's no really correct way to do it. You just figure it out as you go. Other people's stories can help or hinder you, but I believe the best idea is just to be prepared the best you can and take the step out of the working world and into the unknown world of retired citizens, a world where we can take a few minutes to do nothing but gaze at the clouds, try anything new that we choose, sample everything on the menu until we find something that brings us joy. Retirement looks like the first small step towards joy, the joy of life, just when I was getting too tired, just in time for me to catch a second wind. Like every transition in life, there will be errors and learning experiences. I'll learn what works for me and how to make the best use of my time and budget. I'll hope to find a balance of fun and rest, excitement and calm, serenity and joy. Hopefully a little dose of joy each day, or a lot if I give myself permission. Thank you.
Hello. My piece is called Closure. And I didn't coordinate with Pam, but I'm also talking about retirement. A little over a year ago, I retired. I had worked at my job for over 36 years, and I was a dedicated and loyal employee. My job morphed over the years. I started out as an administrative assistant to the associate director of a large research lab affiliated with the university. Then I worked myself up to be the administrative assistant to the director, but also earned the title of the building manager, which ultimately encompassed about 85% of my duties. The building I managed was a 113,000 square foot research center consisting of offices, conference rooms, 3 large working laboratories along the Logan River. It was a huge building, built in 1965, and had aging infrastructure. My job was maintaining the infrastructure, lobbying for upgrades, and keeping the research center running and all the occupants happy and comfortable. It was a thankless job, but I put my heart and soul into it. My job was sometimes brutal. Working with the university facilities team, who were most always men, was very difficult. I had to hold them accountable to do their job, which they did not like, and especially did not like that I was a woman, and also had to maintain a civil rapport with them. Sometimes I had to be tough. I developed the skill to learn how to be tough, but also how to be nice, and to know the difference and when to differentiate. Over the course of the 36 years, I worked for 6 different directors. I got along well with the first 5, and they treated me with respect and allowed me to autonomously do my job, knowing I would get it done and get it done efficiently. The 6th director, however, did not like anything about me or my style. He picked on me for everything I did and tried to micromanage me to do things his way. He didn't understand the fact that I had years of experience doing this and had worked out a system that worked and made everyone happy. He tried to break that. He told me I was too harsh with the men at facilities. So I put a plaque on my desk that read, "I will be nicer if you will be smarter." He did not like that. He also said that I did not know how to write a proper email. For example, my emails were brief and to the point, whereas his style was to write something usually 3 pages long, dilly-dallying around whatever the subject matter was. I stayed with the brief and to the point style, which rankled him. I'm not sure why this director did not like anything I did. At meetings, when I would bring forth a suggestion, he would find 10 ways to shoot it down during the meeting, and then afterwards make sure that it got implemented as his idea. He argued publicly with me over minor things and did not appreciate the fact that I had years of experience doing what I was doing. It was infuriating. This guy was my boss for 5 years. During COVID, I had the opportunity to take phased retirement, which would allow me to work for another 3 years at 75% time. I had a hard time getting all my work done at the reduced rate, and usually continued to work 100% time, but at the reduced pay. When I explained to him that I was overwhelmed with my responsibilities, he seemed to be unfazed and unyielding to my needs. The problem was that my job of seeing to all the infrastructure needs of a large and old building required my being available after hours and sometimes on weekends. He never appreciated my devotion and work ethic to get my job done. At the end of my phased retirement period, I ended up with some health issues and suddenly needed to go out on medical leave 1 month before my official retirement date. It was a horrible way to end what should have been a good conclusion of 36 years of dedicated service. I felt I pretty much had to slink away. No big retirement party celebration, no hoopla about my years of service, nothing. I left my job bitter and disillusioned and angry. However, this week, I was invited back to my department for an open house reception that was being held partly in celebration of the 60th anniversary of the building. I was nervous to go. I had not been in touch with most of my former workers and did not know how I would be received, and I was still bitter. I solicited a good friend of mine to accompany me to the event. I felt I needed a supportive shoulder to lean on in case things got weird for me. He had already promised that we would have fun with it no matter what. It turned out to be wonderful. Many people who came up to talk to me made me feel very welcome and very much missed. Even the woman who replaced me said as much. It was rewarding to know that I had not been forgotten. More than one person mentioned how the place ran so much better when I was around doing my job. Made me feel good. During the course of this event, my former boss came up to talk to me 4 different times. I was trying to avoid him, but ended up having 4 very tense and unpleasant exchanges with him. It only reminded me how much I hated him and reinforced how glad I was not to have to deal with him anymore. However, the takeaway from this experience is that so many of the other former coworkers had appreciated me and genuinely missed me and were happy to see me. This gave me closure. But I have to add an addendum, because today, as I was writing this, I found out that my former boss is stepping down.
Okay, our next 3 readers are Michael, Ronald Jensen, and Star.
Good evening, everyone. Wasn't really sure what I was going to read tonight because I was kind of shuffling through a few things. So please forgive me if I'm stuttered through my notes here. I had intended to read a couple other writings from 1986, very symbolic, but felt they needed something, some kind of introduction. that wasn't wordy not to burn up my 7 minutes. Still working on it this past weekend, a voice in my head said, just read them enough to keep them curious. So I picked a line out of my previous notes. Most all these writings have a direct correlation to the word theandrix, the definition of which is relating to or existing by the union of the divine and human natures. So you can be curious. So I get home yesterday after work and feel impressed to read the following story tonight instead of the other two. This story was actually written prior to the other two stories I was going to read. Kind of nudges consciousness down the fence line a little bit towards the others, so it's kind of a preview and kind of a story introduction, the title of which is called Doppelganger. The original Doppelganger story was spontaneously written in a spiral notebook sometime at the end of 1983, 1984, while sitting in a laundromat waiting for my clothes to get done. I have been unable to find it since. The notebook with the original handwritten copy, however, I never forgot. January 2019, the Doppelganger theme began to resurface via random spontaneous phenomena popping up, other people talking about it, using the word in conversation, each time reminding me of it and the need. I need to write this down. The following is my remembering version of Doppelganger. It's the middle of the night, and I'm lying in a bed, asleep. I wake up at some point and realize that there's another person, someone else, on the left side of the bed. Kind of freaked out, I rolled over and turned on the bedside lamp, then turned back to look at this unknown person lying in bed with me. It's still lying on its side, with its back towards me. I lean over and put my left hand on its shoulder and give a little nudge. Nothing. Then I shake it a bit and include, hey, wake up. Nothing. Something is now starting to feel really odd about this picture. So I reach out again and roll the person over on its back towards me. This person is now facing up. Its eyes are closed. Pondering the oddness of this, I begin to notice that there's no movement, no noticeable breathing. It's also that I realize that this person is dead in my bed, and he looks just like me. I'm currently stunned while on my knees in my bed looking down at this dead man, this person, this thing, whatever it is lying in front of me, trying to come to grips with why it's looking just like me. Motionless, somewhat paralyzed by all this, whatever this is. I just kneel there staring at this guy, when all of a sudden, his eyes pop wide open, and there's light shining out of them. Not consistent light like a flashlight, but a kind of flickering like a projector. Now I'm really curious. So I lean forward to look into his eyes and then realize it's a movie playing in and behind his eyes. Not just any movie, it's a movie about my life. Like events when I was a kid. More curious now about the movie that's playing out of this dead corpse's eyes. I began getting closer and closer to his face, to where I'm eventually lying on top of this dead person, face to face, looking into the eyes of this guy, this corpse thing, whatever, and I'm mesmerized while I'm watching this movie about my life. This goes on for a while, I'm not sure how long, as I'm totally absorbed in this whole experience. Events as a kid later progress into an adult, many, most of which I had totally forgotten. Interestingly, too, I soon realized that while watching this, that this view is taken from an objective perspective, from the dead man's point of view. What a trip, I'm thinking to myself, watching all this, totally oblivious to what it must look like, me laying on top of this dead guy that looks like me, my face now pressed against his face, watching this movie about my life playing through his eyes. I continue watching until the movie events play up to the current, the present, at which now the light behind the eyes, the projector of the movie, begins to fade and gradually grows dark until then, silence. Just me now, laying on top of this dead corpse thing, staring into its open, deep, black eyes. Still gripped by this whole weird experience, I began pushing myself up slowly off this dead guy, stopping at arm's length, looking at his face, how it looks like me, only now with deep, black, wide open eyes. Trying to make some kind of sense out of all of this. And then all of a sudden, the dude just disintegrates. He turns to black dust, like charcoal suspended between me and the bed. And then it shoots up toward the ceiling, then darts toward the window to the right side of the bed, and then turns and starts swirling around the room counterclockwise. It heads towards the window again for the third time, and right before it gets there, the window flies up and open, and the black dust of the dead man flies right out the window into the night. I rush over to the window. Curtains starting to settle a little bit. I stick my head and look around to see maybe something. But after a few minutes, nothing. Nothing but the dark and quiet still of the night. So I pull my head in, slowly close the window, looking down in contemplation, I turn around and proceed towards the dresser at the foot of the bed. And when I get to the front of the dresser, I look up into the mirror, at the face, and into the eyes of the man that's now looking back at me, with the same eyes of light as the dead man. Only now I realize the light is now shining out of my eyes. The movie is playing in me. Hi.
Hi, Ron.
Hello, Ron.
Meine Sohn, Jordi goes. That's tragic kind of time goes. That's how I feel. I got my wife. She's the oath. My son's my wife. She's there for me from day to day. She takes me up when things are good. She is my ark, back in center, and I'm down, feeling blue. We all have trials. In spite of that, I don't mind the sons, and can eat my yours. I'm not going to collapse. You were 6.5 when I met you. You okay? I got to see you the best. I lived with you for 6.5 years. Now you're going to move away from here. It's been fair to me to be a stepdad. It's been enough to make heart no drive. Know that we love you and wish you the best. You're about to leave the nest. Thank you.
Thank you, Creative Writing Club, for the readings, and thank you, John, for the Valentine poems. Donette is so lucky. I'm Star. It's nice to see you all here this evening. Thank you for coming. I am writing short prose poem memoir pieces, and this is called Celestial. Before I knew what lust was, I lusted at 12, 13, on the verge of Beatlemania, in the time of 60s haircuts, better yet, no haircuts, in the time of rock and roll, skinny suits, leather pants, shirtless vests, bare chests, the Beatles, the Byrds, the Rolling Stones. My girlfriend, Jana Lee, with the super teased, never washed, spray-netted hair, had all the best 45s. She stacked the hit singles high on her portable suitcase-style record player. We'd lie on her bed, pulsing with energy, playing her records over and over. Jana Lee taught me how to browse the record aisle at M.H. King's variety store. My mother worked at King's. She didn't approve of rock groups. We tagged the 45s we wanted, bent a corner on the covers. When Mother went to the stock room, I played lookout. Jana Lee lifted our choices, slid them under her jacket. walked the new 45s home to her room full of rock and roll. The budding young woman I was needed more than 45s. I lusted for long playing back-to-back music, for lyrical love songs, song after song, for sensations that prickled and swelled. I lusted after the images of rock and roll gods. I gazed on celestial male bodies gracing album covers at the downtown record store until my eyes blurred. Record albums were too big to steal, so Jana Lee and I memorized the glossy, sexy covers for when we played our 45s or listened to the radio. We memorized those bodies all slender and muscular in tight-fitting jeans and bell-bottoms, long thighs, tight butts, that mystery of crotch, a place I'd never seen unclothed on a male, no way to picture what I didn't know. But I knew there was something at the juncture of two strong, lithe legs that melted a place between mine. Jana Lee and I drifted off to other friends when we got to 8th and 9th grade. I took up with Shirley, whose older sister was dating guys with fast cars and stereos. Shirley's sister told us of all the bands coming out, the raunchier ones, the darker ones, the Doors. Shirley and I used some of the Social Security money I had in my savings account from my dad's death to buy the Doors. 4 sexy, sultry boy men staring out of the album cover's glossy darkness, staring into me, a thrumming inside of me. My savings dwindled as we paid Shirley's older sister's boyfriends to buy us a bottle of cherry sloe gin every weekend. We poured her mom a glass and went up to Shirley's room to finish the bottle while we played the Doors over and over and fantasized about the bodies, playing the music that made us vibrate. Shirley and I never talked about what we were feeling as we listened. I was feeling my usual death wish romanticism. I was wishing I would be discovered and carried away and ravaged by one of those heavenly bodies. I was hoping I wouldn't die of disappointment and loneliness before I had a chance to discover what it was that I really needed. What I needed was hidden in those stylish outfits, in those beat-heavy tunes, in those soulful words and facial expressions that turned me on before I knew the meaning of being turned on. I would find out in due time. It wouldn't be celestial.
All right. Next 3 readers will be Michael Skillings, Erin, and Milan.
So, last time I was here was 1 year ago when I read As the Grand Overlord of the Bullpen.
Yeah,
And since then I have lived an utterly ordinary, white, like cubicle life. But I wrote this week, and it's a little too long to read all tonight, so I'll just read like the end because I really want to get to the punchline, so to speak. I intend this to be chapter 1 of a novel called Cyberspace Ninja Attack. And what the first part of this chapter is about is this kid, Eli, no relation, sorry about that. This kid, Eli, joins the Space Air Force to piss off his dad. All rivers lead to the same lake, and for Private Elias Whitman, that was Lake Murkvo, a giant salty puddle 10 miles across with no outlets, overlooked by Planetary Defense Post Stratskope, 60 miles north of the town he grew up in. He washed in, and finding that the water had stilled, he settled down through the murky water until he reached the bottom. Month after month, year after year, fresh recruits washed in and settled into layers of sediment on top of him, just as he had settled on top of others. He was assigned on-base housing with 5 other enlisted men. He was assigned a fabric-covered box on the second floor of a 3-stocky stucco-covered box to work in. He was assigned an employee classification index. He was assigned a stipend. Eli owned very little that he wasn't assigned, but among that collection, the prize jewel was a 10-inch reflecting telescope. It had cost him over 2 months' worth of income, and he kept it in a special foam carrying case under his bunk. Once or twice a month, when he could get a vehicle from the motor pool, he would drive it up into the foothills above the base, where the light pollution was less. He would spend hours letting it adjust to the chilling night air, then another hour at least collimating it. Then he would look through it until dawn began creeping out over the horizon and forced him to return home. He usually started with the other planets of the Subin-Proj system, but only to help tune it in the last amount his laser collimator couldn't. He spent most of the night looking at distant objects, star clusters, nebulas. He would think about the things he had heard about the universe beyond. The gas giants with storms the size of his own whole planet. The moons with volcanoes of ice. The storm planets so hot their surfaces were boiling lava and their rain was sulfuric acid. The cities that stretched 2 miles into the sky. The castles that had stood for 10,000 years and the kings who lived in them. The cybernetic deities and vast imperial star fleets. Sometimes he pondered that recruitment ad he had seen all those years ago about finding his beyond. Sometimes he would wonder if there was some juncture, some fork in the river of his past, that would have taken him beyond the tiny glass sphere that had always seemed to enclose him. Something that would have taken him out there, something that would have taken him anywhere but here. But the past was utterly unreachable, just as much as those points of light in the sky that books and photos told him were entire worlds. The thought was laughable and mute. So, when dawn began encroaching, he packed up his telescope and returned home, just in time to hear the bugle blow and a bright new day begin.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am going to read 3 or so poems, actually, not 3 or so. I'm going to read 3 poems that I wrote that I like. So, the first one is entitled Burn in Hell. Your evil, your pain, I can no longer stand it. Your path, your plan, I can no longer follow it. The filth on earth, I can no longer clean it. The stench of blood, I can no longer breathe it. If this is your work, I hope you eat your own words. If these are your people, I hope you grovel in guilt. If this was your plan, God, I hope you burn in hell. Oh, yeah. And then my second poem does not have a title right now, but goes like this. I saw a silver bird slice through the sky. Its wings worked together to unweave the cloudy fabric. I saw a silver bird. It's drawn a sliver of red across a buckling sky, breaking my illusion. I saw a silver bird. I love it. I'm scared of it. It cleared the clouds. I saw a silver bird, feathers shimmering in new light. The sun has been set free, and it is bright with rage. I saw a silver bird beneath the bleeding sun. Golden rays tainted crimson and seeping deep in my skin. I saw a silver bird. It's fallen asleep now, and I must stitch up the sky and restore careful cloud cover. I saw a silver bird. It's fallen asleep now, and yet I'm frowning because I know it will be back tomorrow. And then my final poem is entitled In Another Life. Soon will be time to mourn the conceptual dead, though your conception would never be my choice. Because of the purifier running in the kitchen, because of the numbers after that damned dollar sign, because of the fear of any turning to all, because of the pain life grievously extends, I will mourn you as if it were a parallel world where I was safe and so were you. I'll cry to mourn the world we could have had, we should have had, but never will.
I'll mourn you now, so I can make the choice to never see you die, my child. I wrote this in the process of grieving. It is titled, You Made Your Bed. When my mother finally struck the match, she didn't hesitate, didn't glance back to see if I was still inside. The walls that had confined me, the earth thick with everything unspoken, it all went up in flames without a second thought. But as the fire consumed what was left, I saw the truth beneath the wreckage. That house was never a home. It was a merely crafted illusion, a place held together by pretense and empty promises until the weight of its own contradictions caused it to crumble. In its ruins, I made a vow to build the house I deserved as a child, the home I never knew. I carried that promise with me as I moved from one place to the next, bag on my back, holding on to whatever security I could provide for myself. This is what addiction looks like through the eyes of a child. It is watching the people who are supposed to protect you set fire to everything that was meant to be sacred. It is realizing far too young that love is not stronger than destruction, that survival depends not on holding on, but on knowing when to let go. Addiction is a slow collapse disguised as stability, a house that still stands long after the foundation has rotted away. And by the time the flames come, there is no saving it, only the choice of whether or not to be buried in the rubble. I am still a child, perhaps a child who never had the opportunity to know what it is like to exist presently, to play in peace, to let my imagination run wild. As I look at the wreckage that barely stood last month, I see it through the eyes of that child. I try to process everything now, all the events that shaped me, events that felt hazy in the past but now stand so clearly in the rubble of what has finally crumbled. In that moment of stillness, it felt as though I was being asked to face the pieces of me I had been running from for so long. And so I sat in the chair beside the hospital bed, shaking uncontrollably, as if the earth beneath me had come unmoored, as if I were the one flatlining. My body trembled with the weight of everything happening, the sterile air sharp with antiseptic and death proximity. But all I could focus on was the violent stillness of her body, the way it refused to respond, refused to fight. It was as though the life I had been chasing, the life I had hoped would come, was slipping in front of me, untouchable, unyielding. Doctors swarmed around her, their voices a blur against the steady, detached beeping of machines that filled the room with an eerie sense of false stability. I watched as they placed the defibrillator pads against her chest, the shock forcing her body into a grotesque dance, flapping weightless as if her bones had turned to liquid, her frame no more structured than a lifeless slab of jello. Again and again, they tried to bring her back, and the force of the electricity sending ripples through the skin that had once carried me. My thoughts came too fast to process, gliding into another with no space for feelings, sadness, anger, hope, but I was moving too fast to touch any of them. I sat there, frozen and numb, watching the reality I had warned everyone about unfold in real time. The one they told me I was too dramatic to believe in, too bitter to accept, too heartless to predict, and yet here it was. I was right, and I wish to God I wasn't. This is what it came to, what it always came to, the inevitable consequence of the life she had chose. But she didn't die at home, not this time, because I was the one who always caught her at the edge of the fall, because I was the responsible one, child forced into the role of protector, the one who kept the pieces together while she unraveled. She took pride in being my mother, but it was me, it was my siblings. We were the ones who carried her weight, the ones who picked up the wreckage she left behind, the ones who paid the cost of her choices. I've carried her in the way I've learned to stay small, to not take up too much space, to be careful of my words in case they set off an explosion. I've carried her in the ways I flinch at slamming doors, in the way I've mistaken love for survival, in the way I've always looked for an exit in every room I walk into. I've carried her in the way I've tried to fix, to help, to make her better, and in the way I have failed every single time. And even in the moment, watching her body laid out before me, breath shallow, unresponsive, I realized I wouldn't be carrying her anymore, not in the way I always had. That didn't mean I was free, because now I would carry this instead. The image of her, lifeless in that bed, the hollow shell of the woman who should have protected me. The final, twisted irony of it all, that the last time we coexisted in peace was in a hospital room, where I sat in silence, too exhausted to cry, too numb to reach for her hand, too spent to do anything but memorize the weight of that moment. And as much as I wish I could erase it from my mind, I can't. I never will. Her children were never more than pillars used to prop herself up on. The moment one falls, the entire structure crumbles. I refuse to keep enabling her. I deserve more, but more than that, my siblings. Addie, Alexa, Matthew deserve more. We raised each other, piecing together the love that was never given to us, mending the fragments of care and support that was never provided. We held each other up when she let us fall, and for them, for that bond, I offer her my gratitude. Not for what she was, but for what she never was. Because in her absence, I discovered something real. The only gift my mother ever gave me was my siblings, and they are the only part of her I will ever carry with me. And still, I know speaking out will invite backlash. The world will judge me, shame me for daring to speak the truth, but the truth is mine to speak. There is no one better suited to bear witness to the negligence than the one who has cleaned it up for as long as she can remember. You may try to dismiss my truth, to distort it, but it remains unwavering just as the hurt remains. To those who choose to judge, they can keep their assumptions, their stories, but they won't ever know the truth like we do. The public image, so carefully curated, the one she wrapped around herself like a shield, is nothing but a fragile mask. It reflects none of the darkness that lies beneath the role she claimed to play. She can paint herself however she likes, for the title of sole caregiver, the single mother of 4, the self-made hero of her own story, but I see her, and I need not prove it to anyone. When the day comes that I become a mother myself, when I bring my own children into this world, I will remember what it truly means to love. My understanding of motherhood will not be shaped by the image she projected, but by the absence of what I deserved. The love I give will be forged in the quiet, unwavering strength of a child who learned to care for herself when no one else would. The love I give will be born of what was never given, and it will be something unbreakable, built from the ground up, from the people who have held me up in the ways my own mother never could. In every ending, there is a beginning. Today, I choose to let go. Today marks the day I choose to live for myself, to live for my future, and for the life I have fought so hard to preserve. The vision I've carried with me, despite all the storms, is clearer than it ever has been before. I no longer carry the weight of what was never meant for me. I walk away from the remnants of a past that could not hold me, stepping into the life that is truly mine.
Thank you.
Okay, the last name on the list I have is Bill. Is there anybody else? Okay, awesome.
See it down. I don't like writing things down. I come here, I hear something, and that becomes what I would do. I'd write an outline. But Star says I can't do that anymore. Okay. This is the trigger word series. Editor, and I can't talk today either. Editor of a capstone project for a government agency. Creative writers drive me nuts. They make me angry. No, they fucking piss me off. 60 pages of fluff, 5 pages of self-aggrandizing BS. This is where I lost it. Now this is for a government agency, a natural resources agency. This is what they wrote. A sage grouse burst forth in a flurry of feathers with a thunderous roar, and then 563 words of creative writing. My response, you lying shits. I was with you when we found a dead, partially devoured sage grouse, most likely killed by a coyote. Tracks and fur were present at the site. There's my next one. Dichotomy. I have 298 credits from Utah State. I have 1 degree and 3 minors, not creative writing. I'm a true blue through and through platinum Aggie. You all are too young to know what that certification entails. To me, BYU is a heinous epitaph. Unfortunately, I have 2 relatives who play on the BYU women's volleyball team. When I go to the game, what should I do? Book editor. Allie was just an engineer, English major, working as a barista at Hastings. Do you guys remember Hastings? That was when Logan was literate. We no longer are literate. But working as a barista with an English major is a stereotype. I know. She was an excellent barista. She served coffee to Bob, Charlie, and I. She was exceptional. We allowed her to sit in the 4th chair. Graduation was pending, the job search loomed. Bob said, I can get you a job. Allie laughed. With one of the big publishing houses, she laughed again. She was shocked when VP of one of the big New York publishing houses walked in, bought a coffee, interviewed her. Yes, she got the job.
Okay, big thank you to everyone who read today. And for you guys in the audience, we just have 2 pieces of announcements before we're done. Shannon Ballin, our current Logan City Poet Laureate, will be reading with USU poetry professor C.R. Grimmer on Thursday, April 3rd at 1:30 p.m. in the USU Library 101. And then, let's see. Chris Kokonos will read from his book, Still as Bright, An Illuminating History of the Moon from Antiquity to Tomorrow on our next Helicon event, which will be April 10th, right here in the Logan Library. And then if everyone could help stack chairs, that'd be great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me.